Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Keeping Up with the Thrones. I'm your host, Eliana Melendez, and I'm joined here again today with Jackson Hayes and Caleb Sod.
We're back. It's the Battle of Winterfell. We're here to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a big episode. It's a real big episode, so there's a lot to talk about, and it's been kind of taken over the internet, particularly Twitter this week. A lot of people have made a lot of memes about it, complaining about literally how not lit it is, and we're gonna talk about that. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. We tend to record these later on in the week because we don't have the time to record it after the actual show premieres. So I literally have to buffer in my head what happened in the episode so that we could recap it for you guys. So if anyone remembers what happened, it was a very slow start. Who wants to start with the beginning of the episode?
Well, I will say what is good about recording a little later is it does give time to simmer in your mind. So
that's
because if we recorded this
it's
right after, I'd have a way different opinion than I do right now. I'll say that.
Yeah, because you kind of you come to terms with things, and and things that kind of bug you in the beginning. You're like, really, and then you just kind of let it sit with you during the week, kind of let it cook, and then you're like, okay, all right, well, it's not too bad, it's okay. Yeah, that actually works out. Or maybe you just kind of you research something because you didn't remember a callback. I feel like there were a lot of callbacks to a lot of older episodes in this.
A lot
in this one. Yeah. So yeah, who wants to start off with a brief recap of what happened, other than people dying? I'm honestly surprised that not a lot of people died. This is pretty tame.
See, here was my going back to if we recorded directly after, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this episode. And then I sat on it for a few days.
That's right.
And then I realized how much I actually did like it, and how actually impactful the deaths were sort of for me. Even if they weren't, major players, but they still were more side characters. I mean, just to kick it off, we basically start out and we're ready to go. Everyone's lined up, everyone's here, everyone's ready. And, it's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, I like that it started off really fast. We literally pick up right where we left off from the last episode.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone is just getting their battle positions, really getting afraid there because they don't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then a few minutes in they run the Dothraki out there after Melisandre runs up and lights their swords, which is a really cool moment. And then them and Jorah run out there, and which was a really cool scene, which really got me set up for the episode, was the fact that they basically get decimated within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that happened real
fast.
And
this army that we've been dealing with, since season 1, this army we were introduced to in the very beginning of season 1 is just kind of gone in one moment, just by this evil threat.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of low key, not offensive, but it's kind of low key sad that we just have the foreigners, the Northerners, where those people are oh yeah, let's put the savage foreigners up front first so that we can see what we're dealing with. They're the ones, how parents tend to experiment with their firstborn and kind of figure out what's happening and how to raise a kid. That's what the Northerners did with the Dothraki in that battle.
I think the Dothraki have been really underrated by the Northerners because they had no business going to Westeros.
Oh, absolutely.
They could have stayed where they were. They would probably be fine. They wouldn't have to experience winter, and that just shows how loyal they are to Daenerys. And just I feel like they never got enough credit, not even from Sansa, who has had her problems with Daenerys. But it's this whole army of people are coming to fight with us, and
they're the real ride or dies.
Lines, and they're the last people who need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't take issue with your point because it's completely valid. My only thing is that they've set up the Dothraki as this unstoppable force, an open field. We saw what they could do last season, when they wrecked shop against the Lannister army. So I think the only reason they wanted to throw them out there first rather than a northern brigade was the fact that they wanted to show how powerful the dead are, and the fact that they could just decimate this super powerful horse riding army within seconds, that they've that we've had 8 seasons to delve into to see how dangerous they are, which is kind of to show we're not dealing with what we've been dealing with before. This is something completely on another level.
That is very
And
true.
another thing I'd love the way it was set up. You don't see the army of the dead until like maybe 20-30 minutes into the episode, but you see that great wide shot of the lights going towards into the darkness, and then you just see them like kind of one by one slowly dwindle out as Sansa and Arya looking over it and Daenerys is looking over it. And then even then, like you don't really know what's happening, and then just like a couple of them walk back on their horses, like Jorah's just walking back and they're like, what happened? And he's just like he doesn't even say anything. Like you can tell like that's something he's never encountered, even like though he had seen the dead beforehand. Like that was still just like
it's totally different to see a whole army of them. Just
that's a great moment of show don't tell
decimating
that
force.
they've been really good at.
Yeah, which I love. That's my favorite thing. Like you just, exactly. Show me what happens. You don't need to explain how dangerous something is. You don't need to keep telling me how dangerous it is. Just show me what they can do. And they did it that quickly in the first episode. In this episode, I mean, with like in 15 minutes, like you already set up like this is not. They're not just gonna win this.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I really like how they worked through that because, a lot of people were complaining, oh, this is dark, I can't see what's happening. Well, neither did the characters right there on on the wall of Winterfell. They were experiencing the same uncertainty and basically terrified. Even like the baddest of the bads were like trembling in their boots right there because, hello, you had this entire army just disappear before you. And you could see them disappear because like the fire swords, the swords of light just went out. They just gone. Poof. Bye-bye. And it really helps set up the intensity of the enemy at hand.
What was y'all's first reaction to seeing Melisandre back? Because I didn't think she was going to be episode. I don't know if that was known beforehand, but that was kind of a nice surprise.
I didn't expect her, but I did think, oh, finally she's going to be useful.
I wasn't too surprised just because she'd mentioned that, early on with Stannis, when she was still with Stannis, that she mentioned that the fight in the north was the important fight.
That's true.
And that and then last season she said, I've brought ice and fire together, the prince that was promised, and they're doing this whole thing. And so her intention, her role was clearly with this battle, not with whatever follows it, dealing with Cersei.
This
was her role.
This was her end game.
So I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised that this is where she showed up. In what capacity she showed up and what she ended up doing later in the episode did surprise me, but I think it was great payoff, later on.
Yeah, I liked it. It really, this episode, like, again, with each episode, we're getting closer and closer to the conclusion of a lot of character arcs. And I feel like we got, like, the most perfect conclusion to Melisandre, even though it's not a character, at least for me, that is particularly, near and dear to my heart or anything. But I still thought it was nice to see a character that was there basically since the beginning, almost. She's been there, since season 2, 3-ish?
Yeah, season two.
And to finally, she's been talking about this destiny and this prophecy and yada yada all throughout the show. And to finally see that come to a close and to see that it was real and accurate, I liked it. I liked it a lot. And she definitely served her purpose. She was basically a catalyst to other characters, which we will talk about later on.
Yeah, so I mean, just to keep it moving, the dead start attacking. They fight the Unsullied, which was, something that was interesting to see was them kind of being terrified in a way, which isn't something that they're not supposed to do. But this is the one thing that will terrify them. And I mean, just throughout the episode, like they just start getting bombarded and they're losing and they keep losing and there's no way, and they have to retreat back into the walls, which was pretty terrifying because they almost immediately they just get beat back. Which
this episode had me stressing. I was stressed.
Oh, I was stressed until the last minute, like until the very last minute. I was on the edge of my seat with just who's gonna go, what are they gonna do, how are they gonna beat this? It just feels impossible, which they did a really good job of setting up.
Yeah, I thought honestly, it got to some points. I don't know if you guys felt this, but it got to some points where I felt like, okay, this is just stupid because they keep losing, everything is just like rushing down on them. The walls are breached. Everything is just going to crap. and then the dead start rising in the crypt, and everything's just going downhill. And I'm like, I feel like some of the things could have been prevented. like low key. Like they could have.
Yeah, there were some stupid decisions
Right.
made, specifically with Jon and Daenerys in this episode,
Absolutely.
which I know a lot of people have issued with. I mean, as soon as the Dothraki are decimated, Daenerys decides to screw the plan, and she just starts flying out, even
Yeah.
though Jon's like, "Hey, that wasn't the deal," and she's like, "Well, I don't care. I'm going out here right now." That leads him to going out there right then on his dragon, and then they just kind of do their thing. And I mean, there's some great moments there and everything, but like it didn't seem all that thought out to me. Like they kind of just
They all
let's
just
just wing
started
it. We're just gonna use these
panicking.
dragons.
They started panicking.
A lot of people have pointed out how terrible of a plan Jon Snow drew up.
Yeah,
It was pretty bad.
And
and-
what's it called? The whatever that I mean, I think it was the Ken Jack from Lights Camera Barstool, but he kind of made this whole video of like what they should have done. It was kind of a joke, but it was like serious. Like you know that one castle in the north that's like surrounded by the swamps.
Yeah.
Where
The wildlings.
the reeds are from.
Oh yeah.
No,
It's where
Mara's dad
Sansa
lives.
and
Yeah, that's where they travel
Littlefinger
to
went
on their
there.
way back to
Yeah,
Winterfell.
yeah, like that.
This
They were
was a
saying
while
like they
ago.
should have set up there because that would be like a better advantage thing. And I don't know, it is a good video. You guys should check it out. And
Yeah,
we'll keep linking in the
strategically
description,
speaking,
but-
that would have been way better. Like they already did
and
the
like
whole.
just there's a lot of things that
Mhm.
Jon Snow didn't do very well that I think could have saved a lot of his men and given less
the lighting,
feed for the
lighting
army.
the trenches, the lighting the trenches,
Exactly.
which leads into them retreating back. He fought them back last season when they sat on that river or that lake the entire night, just waiting, and they didn't move. They
Mhm.
didn't move. They didn't do anything. He knows that like they're unstoppable and they'll do anything. Lighting a trench, what is that really gonna do?
Mhm.
And
Other
like
than
they
buy you
they
5
will
minutes?
play they would wait there until their food supply waited out if
they're
they
not
needed to.
They'll sit there. They will not move.
Yep.
Like they showed that last season. We got that visual.
Mhm.
We knew what they would like. They wouldn't stop. But the fact that they just said, "Yeah, but we'll just light this on fire because they don't like fire." Well, they clearly showed they can just avoid it completely.
Mhm.
And like I don't know if the showrunners were deliberately showing us that John isn't that good of a strategic man, or they just didn't write it all that well. It's kind of hard
It's
to tell.
a little bit of both, I think, because I'm leaning more towards this is a clear, like, example. It's a very clear example that John was not meant to lead, and he knows it, but he
See,
doesn't really have a choice.
It's hard to say because season 4 when he beats back the wildling army, on the wall, like he was as strategic as possible. He
That's
did
true.
everything right, and he won.
That was
And
before
then,
he died,
he's
though.
done it before. I mean that's fair, but he
Lost a few brain cells.
But they did like he lost the Battle of the Bastards like without Sansa's help,
That's true.
which they would have lost, and then he lost this basically without the help that he got in the end.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're trying to tell us is what I'm getting at.
I don't know.
And we have kind of made it a bit of a meme on the internet how he kind of keeps getting promoted at a job that he doesn't want to have. Like
Oh my
people
God.
keep
He's
appointing him
true.
these
They
leadership
just
roles.
give it to him.
But I mean, the reason people keep appointing him these leadership roles is because I do think he is a good leader and he has those qualities. While he might not like have the most
has the
thought out or like
potential.
really like direct,
I mean,
like
he's
like he, but he has the
honorable,
right
he's
idea.
dad.
Like he's the only person that isn't thinking about kind of the politics first. Like he's looking out for, I mean, literally like the living people.
Yeah, we've said
Mhm.
the entire time his head has always been in the right place,
And
Like,
that's
his
why
head
he is
always in the right
that's
place.
why
but
he is a good person to lead, and that's why he keeps getting chosen. But I guess in a strategic sense and
Yeah.
as a general, he's kind of been proven to not be the best guy for that job, which I think is a interesting part of his character, how he's not just this
And I
know all
think-
do all kind of
And
guy.
I think it's such a clear it's clear evidence that John, without his own hand to the king, without his own cabinet, without his own strategist, clearly is not up to par as
yeah,
the
Davos,
great.
Davos is not that guy.
Yeah, Davos is not that guy, and he's never been that guy, and he's pretty aware that he is not that guy. He tries his best. He's got the spirit, but Daenerys has been one that despite Tyrion's downfalls and despite her arrogance and all that, Daenerys has been one to value having a good strategist, surrounding herself with a good cabinet. And that's what the great leaders in Game of Thrones have always had. Like the good ones. Dude, even Cersei had at one point a cabinet around her of
But
people that
John
she
John
could take
has
advantage
friends.
of you.
He doesn't have advisors. Like those are his friends.
Yeah.
Those are his allies. They're
He's
not
got
his
Sam,
advisors.
but he's got his friends. He's got a squad, but I'm not gonna trust my squad to advise me in war. it's just the facts. Like, I'd rather have Brienne of Tarth
No,
be on my, cabinet.
and just keep it moving forward. I mean they're continuing to lose. I mean that's a lot of this episode. People start dying. Ed dies pretty early on from the Night's Watch, which was a bummer, but he was an easy call. Yeah, he was an easy call to make, but
that was I gotta say that was probably my favorite death, just because it wasn't like this big moment. It was just like
war.
He's talking to Sam. Boom. He's
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
And that's kind of like,
and he didn't need
the
one.
more Game of
He's not a
Thrones
character
deaths
needs
that
one.
we kind of get, and that was obviously the first one where it kind of showed us like, all right, there are gonna be real stakes in this battle, although maybe not as real as some of us might like, but we'll talk about that a little later.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of my faves made it through, so I'm happy.
And it's a bummer because I liked him, but again, this is Game of Thrones. I wasn't like, oh no, I need Ed to live. I'm all right. I'm fine.
We'll be okay.
But
it is sad that like in the last episode they showed the three of them like they were the last ones from the Night's Watch, and they were kind of writing it out together, and now there's obviously only Jon and Sam.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
And going in, they have to retreat back, and then they light the trench, and it's just sitting there, and then they immediately break through. They lay down themselves on the fire and build a little bridge and just come right through, and there's really nothing they can do. And I think that's when the Night King starts coming down with the dragon, and then Jon
the
and
Night
him
King
go fight him.
starts flexing.
Well, yeah,
he shows up.
We should talk about that whole dragon sequence. I mean,
I call it the
comes
How to
in through
Train Your
sparingly
Dragon
in
sequence
the
because
first
it was
half,
dope.
like there's like the first half of the episode, it was just kind of like them flying around on dragons. I will say this, that was probably what should have been the best part, but for me it was probably my least favorite because like it just felt like prolonged, and it was just a lot of them flying through the clouds, and you didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah,
I didn't have
care.
the
really care.
the visual problem where people were saying it was too dark, but that was where it was like they were just flying through clouds, and you just see a dragon whoosh past the screen, and they all look the same. And like for me, I just wasn't really getting anything out of that. But there was a couple cool shots. How to Train Your Dragon.
It felt a little bit filler. Yeah, I feel you.
Where they were like they had those wide shots with the dragons above the clouds, and that's when it was cool. And it does pick up towards the end when they start falling down and they get more ground level. But that's where a part of the show where I think this episode could have been shortened. They hyped this up as this really big battle, and I honestly don't think it needed to be as long as it was. So you guys, we should talk about the dragon parts of the episode. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
The dragon fights were good. It was just it wasn't that I was upset I couldn't see. It's just that it wasn't exactly what I anticipated them to be. Like they weren't this like epic like, oh, these two dragons are going at it, two monsters, historic, mystical monsters and all that. It was just kind of them, flying around biting each other, which is fine, but
yeah.
It wasn't exactly what I had hoped it to be. But
let's think back to
it was fine nonetheless.
The final shot of season 7 with the White Walker dragon blowing down the wall. That kind of set up like this big like holy shit moment. Like they have a dragon, and for me it just didn't really come to fruition as much as they had set it up to be.
No, it was just kind of a vehicle. So
yeah,
you could get
like
around
it might as well have been
like it wasn't exactly like a.
It might as well have just been like another like giant in their army, just another like big tank like artillery, but it wasn't like this huge. I mean, obviously it was an advantage, cool. But it wasn't anything like more than they already had, which disappointed me a little bit.
Yeah,
I
feel like
I'm with you.
I feel like the whole Viserys is now White Walker dragon kind of dragged on a little bit, but I still thought it was good in the sense that it just kind of upped the stakes a little bit more, because even though it was like a 2v1 whole dragon situation, it got to a point where I know Jon Snow is a Targaryen, he's got the dragon, yada yada, he doesn't know how to fly a dragon, he's rather useless on a dragon. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Well, that was my problem, and Kit Harington talked about it. He mentioned that he was upset. He said that he was upset that he didn't get the final blow, which I have just I disagree with that a little bit, but he was more upset that he was like flying around on a dragon the whole episode, because that's not what Jon has been about.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be his play.
He would have been
on
the front
lines. He would be on the front line. He would be in the middle of everything, but like he wasn't, which kind of irritated me too.
I don't think
I think it irritated him too.
Either. Like the dragons have never been shown that they need to have someone riding them to control them.
No, and if Daenerys is controlling one of them, obviously the other one can follow suit. Like it's not that
Yeah, like
now that you mention it, I think it would have been a lot better to have Jon kind of with the men in the in the front
And I
line.
feel like it would have given him more to do in the moment, so we didn't take away the moment at the end. Because in this, he just kind of was doing nothing.
Yeah, because
Like
I
he had,
think the difference here is the fact that he was. I feel like John just wasn't like really overly happy that he just did nothing. He did a whole lot of nothing, and he wasn't on the grounds fighting, because now he actually has a title. Like he's still king, king, and he's
I'm
still a
hoping they
leader.
explore that next episode.
I feel like
Yes.
John's gonna have some shit to say about that, because he was just mad. He went like to the point where he was so frustrated that when he finally got down to the front lines where everyone else is dead, he just yelled at the dragon. Like, he is just on his last.
I mean, he did. He was so tired of it.
He was so tired of it. He was just like on his last legs, just like. He kept
trying and he couldn't get over there.
Stop. He just didn't want this to go on any longer. And I felt that was a mood. So yeah.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit
Okay.
but just to kind of talk about Jon Snow as a whole.
Go for it.
I think like they've obviously been setting we've talked about this already on the show, like his whole character has been not necessarily loyalties or politics, but just fighting for the side of the living.
Exactly.
And this should have been his fight, and it didn't really seem like his fight that the show had been leading to. And not that I needed him to have the final kill on the Night King. I don't have a problem with Arya getting that, that final blow. But
Which
I do think
we're gonna
like
talk about later, yeah.
he didn't really have like, I think you could have taken him out of this battle and it wouldn't have made too much of an impact. And I'm not one of those guys online that's like, oh, Arya's a Mary Sue and Jon Snow deserved it because of all this and that. But like,
No.
I think they should have given us something with him. Like this, like he was literally, this has been his one goal. And
he should have fought the Night King.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted. He could have lost, but we never got them fighting. They never had a conversation.
And I don't need that because
like
it looks. I don't need that because it's a cool thing to have in the show. Like if I need a fanboy out about Jon Snow and Night King having a cool shot together. Like I need that because that's what this story has been setting up.
It's been 7 seasons of us waiting for Jon to fight this guy finally. He's been eyeing him nonstop since season 5. He's like, I'm gonna kill you.
That's true.
But like and he tried, but yes, and it was a cool moment when the Night King rose the dead, and it was like, oh man, we can't win this even further. But Jon never even got to lay even a finger near him.
I think I have thoughts. Hold on. I just remember what I was gonna say about that whole moment with the whole scene of what was this girl's name? Daenerys going all Dracarys, pulling out her ace for the Night King, and just
her one
the one thing that she's got, like her one combo move, that's her special move, that's her brutality. That it didn't work. The Night King just pulled a Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, just straight up. And what I feel like that moment, a lot of people that I've discussed this with felt like that moment was just really unnecessary. But I have thoughts. I think the reason that moment was shown, that the Night King was impervious to fire as opposed to all the other White Walkers, was this stupid theory that I hate, that may or may not be true. But it's this stupid theory saying that the Night King was actually Aegon Targaryen. And that's why he was like the Mad King when he was human, and then he somehow, I have no idea I haven't read up on this theory, but somehow he became the Night King, and that's why he was impervious to fire. That's why he got the dragon, and that's why the dragon and him were like real close buds, and it worked out. And that's why I think we had the Night King and Jon Snow and Daenerys kind of like Illuminati triangle in that scene. And I don't know, man. I feel like there's more to this story than we're being led on. And I don't know. I refuse to believe that this is the end of it for the whole Night King story.
I'm gonna push back on the fact that I don't buy into that theory at all. I still think there's more to come with this story, or I hope, in terms of like the
I think that's
going to
be where Jon Snow comes in.
The only thing I'll come in and say is that I don't think he's our Targaryen, because they never specifically told us that he could be burned by fire. Even the episode before, they go out of their way to say no one's ever tried to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
They've only ever burned White Walker using it. They've never burned White Walkers.
Yeah.
They've only burned Whites. They've never burned a White Walker with the fire. It's a different magic.
Okay.
It's a whole different thing. We don't know how it works specifically. So unless they in 3 episodes they're somehow gonna pull
I
down this
really hope
crazy
not.
thing where like that was her dad or that was her grandfather or whatever. It's gonna take a lot. So I'm just gonna go with the fact that they never specifically told us, and that was just a moment to show us how powerful he really is, and like you can't win with these tricks, and it has to be something else.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna buy into.
I feel that.
And I'll talk about my problem with the Night King is like they haven't given us a reason to fear him, and they've set him up as this big villain, like akin to Thanos and Darth Vader, just like this all powerful being. But they haven't given us a reason to believe that other than, shots of him looking cool and doing badass things. But we literally know nothing about this guy. And while that ambiguity has created a lot of like suspense, I think just killing him in this episode, and he's probably had 30 minutes of screen time in the entire series, like, and knowing nothing.
If that, I mean, he's had like
if
3 or 4 episodes
yeah,
he's actually been in.
If he is a Targaryen, like, I don't know if that's the best thing to make him, but at least that's something, and we can get a little bit of motivation from him.
Even if he's not a Targaryen, I just feel like there is some backstory to it. Like, I feel like the Children of the Forest didn't do this like out of nothing. Like,
here's the thing: if they do like explain something in the next 3 episodes, it's still, and I don't, maybe he will come back in some way, shape, or form. I haven't seen them, so I don't know. But if this is his final draw, and then the next episode they go, oh, here was his whole plan. It turns out he was this and that and all of this. It's like, cool, that's great. Could you have told us that before we got this kind of conclusion to his character? It's like, imagine seeing Infinity War and Thanos does his whole snap and his bidding, and then Endgame we found out why and about his home planet and all that, and it's just kind of like that kind of ruins, like, we're not really connected with that character. And again, the writers could have something up their sleeves that we don't know about at all, and this could not be the end, because we did see Bran with the Ravens for more than half the episode, so
yeah, we don't know what that resulted in.
I would rather have payoff. Yeah, I would rather have payoff with that than the Night King, to be honest with you, because that was just BS. If Bran just went into a Raven,
I mean, they have
he just wanted to like do a drone shot.
There's a lot of things.
Do something with Bran. Bran needs to do something.
There's a lot of things we say they have to do, but like they cannot have that him just go into Ravens for half the episode and not have something with that.
Well, he did nothing. If that turns out to be the end, he didn't do anything. He's completely useless. What is he there for? What is his character there for?
His entire
to be fodder
arc.
To just be fodder? Like, I guess, but like, what's the point? Like, you're not interesting anymore, and you were really never interesting before.
Facts. I don't know. I feel like, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because the writers have been surprising us thus far. Like, they've pulled some things out of their sleeves. Like, we didn't expect. None of us called the Night King actually getting killed, much less by Arya Stark in this episode.
I suspected he would this episode.
I was betting more on either the next episode or the episode after.
Yeah, I didn't think the final conflict would be, because Cersei hasn't done anything this season. I knew that would be the final thing, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought this might be his last episode.
That's very true.
And I mean, we can just get into it at this point.
Yeah, because it was
we
kind
can
of
talk
a
about
thing
who
that
got
built up.
who got. Yeah, I mean, we can just go into who got offed in this episode. I mean, like Ed goes down, and Lyanna Mormont goes down in a really badass moment.
Yeah, she really like got cemented as one of the best, most badass deaths on Game of Thrones in my book. Honestly,
she was one of the fan favorites, and they gave her a perfect send off in terms of what she deserved. And like I was very happy with it. I was very sad to see her go, but
we did lose. We lost like moment. the last 2 Mormonts. One of the last 2 Mormonts in this episode.
Yeah, those were the last 2 basically.
Yeah, so Jorah was off too as well.
And then who else? We got Beric. He died, turning in, and we figured out what his purpose was.
I like
was
that
really
a lot.
Interesting.
I like that a lot.
That was really awesome.
I really liked the payoff there. It was the payoff in that moment from like season 3 like onward. It was like really. I feel like it was really worth it in that moment.
Yeah, which all leads up to Melisandre doing the whole. Remember when Jackson mentioned this because he's a smart boy and actually rewatched the episodes and remembered the whole, oh, you're gonna close what was it, like green eyes, brown eyes?
I brought this up like in one of the first episodes.
Yeah, like the predictions episode. You brought this up and it actually paid off with the whole you will be closing blue eyes as well. So like that's the like. Now all she has left are the green eyes, which I'm pretty sure are Cersei's.
And not only that, but they've set up since her first trainer, the dancer trainer,
Serial Pharrell.
when he said, what do we say to the God of Death? Not today. And then
Yep.
with
Yeah,
the
and-
knife
and
that
it's
Bran
com-
gave her, and then that move she did against Brienne. All that
Yeah.
was, I love how they did set all that up leading to this. So that's why I'm not against Arya getting that final
Arya was the
blow.
only one they could give it to other than Jon that
Exactly.
would make sense, because this has all been building to this moment for her.
For the
we
last
just
7
didn't know it yet.
seasons. We didn't even know, and then now it all makes sense. Everything just literally like fell into place. Like, oh, all of her training for this, all of her training
Right,
for
and,
that,
like,
and
just to-
she used all of it in that one moment.
And I want to talk about like this end sequence. It starts right when they're in the crypts,
Mhm.
and Tyrion and Sansa have this really nice moment where they're literally like facing death, and they're looking in each other's eyes and like have this really nice moment
Mhm.
as people who used to be married and people who care for each other.
Yeah.
I thought they were going
And,
to
like,
die
this-
for sure. Or Tyrion. I thought
Right.
Tyrion.
Oh, I was.
All right, well, before you get into what you're going to say, Jackson, real quick, I do want to say, like, I was disappointed by Tyrion because they made it a point in the last episode how Daenerys was like, you stay in the crypts, like, I need your mind, like, you're not going to be any good fighting. So I thought
Mhm.
he would, like, devise some sort of strategy in the crypts to, like, get everybody out or, like, even sacrifice himself. And I think he just didn't really do anything, and that didn't really pay off for me. But you can go on with what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, in that moment, like, this music kicks in, like,
Mhm.
the score, which was really nice in this, like, last, like, what was it, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Mhm.
I don't know how long it actually lasted, but, like, it's just a montage of, like, everyone, like, John's trying to get through this horde of people, and he can't, and, Sam is down on the ground just stabbing people, because he's down for the count, he's tired.
Yeah.
Brienne, Podrick, and Jaime are all up against a wall, losing. Grey Worm's in a losing fight. Jorah has to protect Daenerys because she fell off her damn dragon because she can't get in the air like an idiot.
Yep.
Like, she could have taken off 5 times over, and she just sat there. What was she doing?
I don't know, man. Remember, she's not a soldier. She's not. She's always
but
sitting on her
she-
dragon.
she-
She doesn't know how to be in a
Okay,
war.
well, then get in your dragon and fly away, because they're all right there. There's hundreds of thousands of them. And you're just sitting on the ground, like, completely avoidable. But she's an idiot.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I really like this, like, 5-minute sequence they had of just, like, pure, like we're gonna lose. Like, this is it. It's over. Like, we're going to lose. Everyone's going to lose. No one can get over anything. And that's when we get to Theon, which I thought was probably my favorite moment of the episode.
Yeah.
It was like, I think Theon made me like tear up in every episode, each episode this season. From episode 1 when he reunites with his sister, last episode where he reunites with Sansa, and they have that moment, and then this one where Bran finally gives him that reassurance he's been looking for since he messed up all those times in the early seasons.
Mhm.
Like, he just tells him, like, hey, you're a good man. Like, I thank you for what you did. Like, I still
That's
I still
all
believe in
Theon
you.
wanted to hear, and I think
That's all he's ever wanted.
Theon Greyjoy, as much hate as he got it like in the beginning, which was on purpose because he was a dick. I think he's had one of the most emotional redemption arcs throughout like the entire series.
I think his arc is up with Jaime's and Tyrion's. It's just some of the best. Like, just so good.
Mhm.
Like, it just done completely, almost perfectly. And
It
I
just
feel
flows
like I'm gonna say
naturally.
it. It came completely full circle in this
It really
episode.
did.
I'm gonna use my one. I'll
We
use
we
one, so.
lasted quite a while without saying full circle.
Yeah, we're like half an hour in, and I didn't say
Wow,
it. So
proud of us.
I'll give it that.
I will say, Bran's like final words to Theon were just like the most Bran thing. It's just kind of like
They were, but.
I mean, he knew that's
It was
what
like a
Theon
dry
needed to
tweet,
hear, but you
but
could
he
tell
Right,
wrote
like
it was the most human we've gotten from him in a long time, though,
And-
even if it wasn't human.
and you
Like, it
could
was
tell
still,
like he
mute.
didn't really like, not that he didn't mean it, but like he wasn't like really putting his heart into that. He was like, yeah, you're about to die. You're a good man. But like
just
You need to hear
knew
this,
what
but
he
like I
needed
don't
to
really
hear.
mean it. Yeah,
yeah, which is like just
Like,
a
I don't
very
think,
Bran.
I don't
thing.
think this, but
That's the
It's
thing.
like
I
you're
don't
a good
think
man.
Bran.
Give you a little bit of hope.
I don't think that's Bran anymore, and I think Bran has been
it's
saying
he's
that.
not. He's told us
He's
that.
told
Like,
us
he
that.
told
It's
us
like
he's not.
I'm not
But
him
he
anymore.
knew what Theon wanted to hear. Like, he knew what he wanted to hear, and it was beautiful to come from Bran,
Mhm.
who he screwed over so early
Yep.
on in the show. That he gave him the reassurance, like, hey, like even if like I'm not who I am, like I like thank you for what you're doing for me right now, and how you're gonna give your life for me. And then for Theon's last moments, just to be him not running away from a fight, but running into like what will be the like the fight he'll most easily lose ever in
And
his
he
life.
knew.
Just running at the most badass person he knew, and just to have it to end, as a hero, as a not a coward, was really powerful.
I totally agree. It was really like one of the best conclusions so far, because I don't know how else. We got 3 episodes left, guys. So I think this is one of the best like conclusions / deaths we've had in this season was Theon Greyjoy.
And I can say the same
I mean, it's
thing
really the
about
only
Jorah's,
big
too.
That's true.
one we've had this season.
Well, I'll give Jorah the same credit that they're both season 1 characters. They both have been around since that time, and the fact that he died doing the only thing he's ever wanted to do, protecting Daenerys, and like how he wouldn't go down, I thought was really, really, it was hard to watch. How he kept getting stabbed, he kept getting in front of her, and while these monsters are coming at him, and then he won't go down until it's over.
I feel that,
which I thought was really nice.
It was nice. It was good. I don't know. I've never felt really particularly that close to Ser Jorah. So I saw his death as, something that was a long time coming, because we all knew that he was going to die for Daenerys.
Oh yeah. I thought he'd be dead seasons ago.
Right.
Or mid show. Like he's lasted a long time.
Straight up.
I mean,
But
I think a lot of the appeal of that character is just like, you're just like, you got to respect the man for trying. And he tries the most out of any character on the entire show. And you can't deny
I look at Ser
that.
Jorah and I'm just like, fair enough.
Like, you got to respect him. Like, he literally got cast out and he came back like 3 different times to get Daenerys and help her and win her.
Right, and I mean she's always known, and like it's a bummer. He she'll never love him back, but he will do anything for her and to protect her.
She knew
He
that.
did in the end.
She high-key knew that, and she took a little advantage of that. Like she knew.
Well, it kind of sucks because she was like letting him get stabbed and then kind of stabbing them after the fact because she's not a fighter, she can't protect herself, and she knows that.
True.
And Jorah knows that, so I don't think it was like, hey, help me out here. It was more of like, let me do this, let me protect you one last time, before I go.
That is true. That's the real ride or die of this episode. Ser Jorah Mormont moment.
I mean, he's always been the ride or die, but he definitely rode and he died.
Jesus Christ. He rode and he died. That's literally what every character wishes for.
He lived his life a quarter mile out of a time, and
he really did.
Eventually he fell off the road.
Imagine just like surviving grayscale.
Right, but he survived to
He
get
really
back
got
to her.
his skin
So it's
cut
okay.
off.
This man got cut apart to survive.
Imagine surviving the White Walkers last season just to die at their hand later.
Yeah, just to get stabbed by one of the lowest pawns of the White Walkers ever.
I know, it wasn't even like you got to kill like a general, or even you got to kill.
Nah, man,
like
it was just like
that. He just got
the NPCs of the White Walker army. That's what he got killed by.
It's like a Chitauri.
I mean,
Just
fair enough. He did it because she couldn't help herself. She was gonna die if he didn't.
Honestly,
so.
I give
I did
fight
Daenerys
a
major
whole
props for actually picking up the sword and just like squaring up. Like she knew, like she wasn't.
She tried. She absolutely.
She wasn't trained in it. She wasn't good at it. But you know what? She wasn't just gonna stand there, and I give her props for that. I respect that.
I'm with you. And then, I mean, if we want to get into the Arya moment now, we can do that.
Yeah, I think that's the concluding topic of this episode. Arya freaking Stark.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
Excellent. And I love how it was just like low key, subtly set up from the beginning of the episode to the end. Like there was like that common thread.
I mean, yeah, since Serial Pharrell, told her.
Mm-hmm.
That what do we say to the god of death? Like that was it. Like we didn't know all this training meant this.
Mm-hmm.
We thought she would just become this badass assassin they would use for whatever. But she got the moment where she got to kill the most evil threat because she is the most is capable.
Exactly.
She's more capable than any of them.
Like she's literally had the most training than any of them because she's been all over. She's just literally been a nomad. She's the show's nomad.
The best teachers. She's had everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And John's just been swinging his sword around the whole show. I mean, sure, he's a skilled swordsman, but like, come on. Come on.
He's just swinging his big sword around, and it's just, it does
its thing. He got a big sword, and he's just like, I'm going to kill the Night King with my big sword. And Arya's like, well, no, I'm going to sneak up behind him and stab him in the chest when he's not looking.
Exactly.
Like,
that's
not how I play my game.
Cats, for Christ's sake. She learned from cats to be
she's
stealthy.
As nimble as they come. She's secret. And they set this up, like, in the first episode in the way that she snuck up in Jon in the same spot, or in the first episode, where she snuck up behind Jon in the Godswood, and he was like, well, how'd you sneak up on me?
Because she's
just that good. She's a ninja. Like, she's gonna get away.
That's what she does.
Like,
she stabs people and sneaks up on them.
Yeah, she's a literal ninja. She's their Batman. Like, this would be her Batman journey.
Exactly.
She went and traveled all over the world, learning from the best teachers, comes back, and is the most badass person who can protect everyone. She's literally Batman in the show.
Yeah, because, like, the whole girl with no name, what was his name? Valar Morghulis was his name? I forgot his name.
No. Jaqen H'ghar.
Yeah, Jaqen H'ghar. Blah, blah, blah. He was basically her Ra's al Ghul.
I mean,
literally.
like that hardcore teacher that just
It was
would
not
knock
really
you in the
good, doing
ice.
good, and just making her do
I
other
mean,
bad
honestly,
things.
this makes me appreciate like the House of Black and White and all the Bravo stuff that much more,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean it was kind of dull. It got boring.
Yeah.
You didn't really care.
But we didn't know what it
It,
was for.
it got dragged out at times. We didn't know what it was building to. But the
Mhm.
fact that we know now, it makes it that much better.
Exactly.
Like, you know how everyone loves The Dark Knight, and everyone after they love The Dark Knight, they're like, oh man, I really like Batman Begins more now. Like I liked it even more after seeing The Dark Knight. It's kind of the same
Yeah,
thing.
because it's a good payoff. So like once you know the purpose
Great
of
payoff,
that
great payoff.
build up behind everything, you know, yeah, it was a little slow, but we built up to this moment so that it would mean that much more. And I think that's what really, really lent to the big payoff for this moment, for her to actually, you know, realize this is my destiny. This is what I'm supposed to do. Like she knew as soon as Melisandre told her, what do we say to the god of death?
Right,
Her,
yeah.
it's like a light bulb just popped up.
And it's a great setup too, because we know that Melisandre's done this before, where
Mhm.
she's quoted people using her. You know, she quoted "You know nothing, Jon Snow"
Yeah.
to Jon way back when,
Yeah,
after Ygritte had died.
exactly.
So he was like, "How would you ever know that? You know, what is this? What is you?"
Yeah, because she's like,
so she, all this
psychic and
setup,
all
all
that.
this setup.
like not
And then,
psychic,
you know,
but
Do
like,
we
you
want
know,
to talk
witchery.
about the Hound totally just like bitching out, and then like as soon as he found
I wasn't surprised.
Arya
It's
was in
not
trouble, he
surprising.
just like
I mean, I do love that friendship though. Just that love for the fact that like he treats her like a daughter, even though, you know, he would never want a daughter. He would never want children.
Yeah.
Just the fact that like this girl means that much to him,
Mm-hmm.
And
like,
he would never
like
admit it.
run into his fear. No,
He
never.
has mad
But
respect,
we
though.
saw it on his face the moment that Beric was like, "Well, tell her that. Tell her we can't beat him." And he was like, "Well, shit, I need to go get her. Like, I need to help her."
Yep, because she's not giving up. Like they were like, "Oh, we can't beat this." It's like, "Well,
But-
tell her that," because she's
I think we
clearly
know,
not
like,
realizing it.
Like, I expected the Hound might die here, but also
Mhm.
we know where we're heading with that. We know
It's
what's
gotta
going
be
down with
the
Oh, yeah, I-
Hound's
I knew
will
he
be
wasn't.
He couldn't have been
the mountain.
right.
The Clegane Bull.
His purpose isn't here. Yeah, his purpose isn't here. We
Yep.
have him later on. Like,
I don't know.
so this was other people's moments where they do that, you know,
Yeah, I really
which
liked
was
it
fair.
though.
Which was fair. So I mean, yeah, they beat him. They beat him in one episode. And then,
One
you know, his army,
freaking episode.
Phantom Menaces, and just dies off, which is, you know, we knew they set up. We already knew that.
Yeah.
It wasn't surprising, but then, you know, the fact that Melisandre just, you know,
She
this is her purpose, and she goes off and dies.
She just goes off, strips
old
for
and just-
one last
just
time because
disappears.
she's always stripping, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And no, it was just she
What do you
literally
think-
just faded
You
away.
think Davos was freaked out? Because Davos had never seen her old.
That's true.
So like, what the hell?
He's just like, oh dear. Well, this is awkward.
And Davos
isn't
still
it?
doesn't believe in magic.
He
To
still
this
doesn't believe
point,
in magic.
even
He saw
though
her
he
light all
just
those
saw
fire. He
this
saw her light
entire
that fire
army
and
of
do
the
all that
dead.
stuff. He still doesn't believe in it.
He's like, well, he's
I'm
like
glad
those
he
flat
didn't get
earthers.
to kill her though, because I mean, it would have been easy to have him kill her at the end, but like the fact that she'd come around, even though she's a horrible, horrible person
Yeah.
for burning Shireen, it was still like she came around in the fact that like she had a different purpose, and she,
Mhm.
you know, that purpose was fulfilled.
Exactly. She
Mhm.
she just, you know, she knew that she was gonna die that night. That's why she showed up. She just knew. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, she told us. She told us immediately.
Exactly.
I'll be dead before the end.
exactly. So yeah, thoughts on how the next 3 episodes are gonna carry out? Do you think the Golden Company is gonna be of any help to Cersei up against all these people off to go to King's Landing? I assume.
I mean, the Dothraki are dead, so I mean,
I
she's
have-
still got the Unsullied.
Mhm.
But here's the question, and I mean, this will definitely go into a deeper conversation.
Mhm.
The North isn't behind Daenerys as of now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they saw her and took her, but she doesn't have like their 100% support. So it's not like they're gonna march down to King's Landing next day. So like that still needs to be figured out.
I
after
have
the fact.
a prediction because we do kind of see in the next episode they're in that room and they're all lifting their drinks.
Yeah,
to
I did see
Daenerys.
that. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think she will ultimately agree to give the North their land and have them like rule themselves, like Sansa had asked.
She owes
And
it to them.
I think she will say like, "Come fight for me, like fight for me in King's Landing, like help me take over Cersei's army, and like I will give you because you know Cersei won't give that to you, and like she'll kill you
Mhm.
at any chance she gets. So fight with me, and then that's when that big like hurrah moment comes where
I'm just hoping they don't, because I heard one thing that was like, oh, maybe they saw Daenerys fighting in this battle and were like, oh, look how great this queen is, you know? I'm like, but she didn't really do anything. Like, she doesn't deserve your support after
they already
this.
knew she
Like,
had a
still needs
dragon.
to earn
That's
it.
all she did.
But like, you're right, but she needs to earn it more so.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you fought the battle, yeah, you guys won, but it's not like it's not like her specifically did that much.
No.
Like, she got.
You know who
she
saved
kinda
Winterfell?
just,
A
stood around.
Stark. And that's what they're gonna
Yeah,
back.
Arya saved it. Arya won the day.
She literally did.
So like, give her some credit. Pour one out for her because she deserves it.
Yeah.
We still don't have any, at least now, but it will obviously be brought up, like any direction on where Jon Snow and his true lineage with Daenerys and
Yeah, I'm curious what they do with his character because I mean he could
He's
go
been
either way. Where he's
just
like, all right,
kind of been
won,
on pause.
we won the battle, right? We won the battle.
like what is
but
what is his purpose now? Like, I mean, obviously he is the true heir, and that's obviously not what he wants. So I mean, he could easily just say, "I'm not even tell anybody," and just not like, just not take up that leadership roles. But like, whole fight in the war, but like
it's not that what they're gonna
it's
do.
still like what's his purpose in all this? And
We all know that he has a purpose because Melisandre was able to bring him back for a reason. The
Yeah, and
same
someone
way
did
that
say, like-
that we did with Beric, like
someone
there's something. He's not gonna live this season.
Someone said like he lived out his purpose by reuniting the North and getting Daenerys to
Mhm.
fight the living and all that. But I just think that's
I'm
kind
not
of
sure it's that simple. Though.
It's
kind of
Mhm.
that's kind of a
Like-
cheap
like
play too. It's
like
like,
they
That's a
they like
cop-out.
gave us. Yeah, they gave us Beric's moment. Like they told us specifically, like that was his
Yep.
moment. So like I think they'd have to do the same with John. Like they have to outright tell us like this is what he was brought back for.
and I think
Exactly.
it might not be like deliberate, like, oh, this is why,
No, I don't think there'll be line
But
of
there-
dialogue.
there will
was
be
today,
that
but like
moment.
you'll know,
Yeah.
like you'll know when you see
like a
it.
sacrifice play or some
Mhm.
final thing he does that will.
And it's not
You'll-
and
when you know,
he,
you know.
he has to die because even Melisandre, when she brought him back, she was like, "Listen, I'm not even sure if this is gonna work. Like, if he's meant to be brought back, he'll come back. But if he's not, there's no more. Because she's not the Night King. She couldn't just bring people back just for the sake of it,
I mean, that could be the case, or his purpose is to unite the kingdoms and become the king. I hope we don't go down that
Perhaps.
road because he wouldn't want it. Like he would hate it. So
And
like, they'd
maybe
have to
we're
do a
gonna
lot
go
of
down
playing
that
around
road
in the next
just
few
for him to
episodes.
hand it over to someone else, Sansa probably, or Arya. But Arya wouldn't want it either.
I mean, that
high-key.
I'd have to like you have to. It's gonna take some creative writing.
Yeah, like how
Like,
disappointing
do
would
that
that
for
be?
me.
Like he just gets crowned king and he goes like, "Oh, I'm giving the honor to Sansa Stark." Or
Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
gets it needs to get it. Like don't hand it off. Don't do it. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
go retire. Just if they need to earn
I
it.
know.
Like
I feel
through
like
blood,
the
through-
big twist
through
is still
politics,
coming.
whatever it is.
Although the Night King twist was fine,
Oh, absolutely.
but the big twist is coming.
There's something bigger.
I feel it in my bones.
And
Well,
I
Emilia
would.
Clark came out this week. Just do quick and mention that episode 5 is
Mhm.
like going to be like this crazy episode, and she's like,
Oh,
find the
jeez.
biggest TV you can. This one's going to be something major to watch. So I think we still got
I'm
something
scared.
major coming down the road.
That's not even the
Yeah,
finale.
those second to last episodes are always the big ones.
Good lord. I hope
Mhm.
we don't get another wildfire episode.
I mean, people are dying. People are still. We got a lot of people to kill.
Yeah.
Like just because you survive this doesn't mean you survive the whole thing.
Exactly.
And I am glad they did save some of the big deaths because they will be a lot more meaningful, like dying at the hands of Cersei as opposed to just a random White Walker.
Yeah, we're dying at the end, like dying at a specific
Mhm.
moment in time, not just being.
It's gonna
off
be
in
more
this giant,
narrative
like, heap of
involved.
battle.
And also, I think I've seen this on Twitter, like people have kind of confused what Game of Thrones is about. They think it's like just killing off their main characters, which is what they've done, and that's how they kind of got their brand.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
like
it's the bread and butter for.
the
a
thing is,
while,
like
but-
Ned Stark didn't have this ceremonial death, and like that's what made it so great. Like he didn't get to charge into battle and have one final like.
No, everyone
blow.
thot it was going to be stopped at the last
Mhm.
minute. Everyone was like, "Okay, where are they
Yeah.
stop it? Where are they going to stop
And
it?"
I think
then it
those
doesn't.
are the type of deaths that they've been missing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I didn't enjoy like Theon's death, but like that is the kind of more generic, like give them this one last like heroic
Mm-hmm.
moment. Whereas like there's nothing heroic about Robb Stark's death, and that is something I want to see, and not necessarily a death, but that type of like it's not the generic like what you think is going to happen type of moment.
Yeah,
that
they
I'm
keep it
hoping to see the
realistic
last
like
of.
yeah,
that.
a gut punch, just a big gut punch.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
keep it realistic like that because it's kind of like, well, in real life, a lot of people die for stupid things. It's not always a heroic moment. We don't always get that. Like, that's what
Mhm.
this show really thrives on, and I think that's what we're going to get back into.
I think the hard thing now is though that everyone does like wants a moment for their favorite character.
Yeah.
Someone out there loves Jaime, someone out there loves Jorah, someone out there loves
Mhm.
Theon, and they're like, oh, they just get offed. like that. The 8 seasons just get off like that.
Yeah.
And like it's hard to play with that now because
Yeah.
we're so invested in these characters that much down the road. We only had 3 seasons of Rob. Like everyone loved Rob, but it wasn't 8.
Yeah, and
You know,
we
it was
didn't know
3.
it was like
Ned
a
was
conclusion.
1. You know, it wasn't like this like, oh god, we've had 8 years of this just to be, you know, stabbed
Yep.
in the back by a White Walker.
But still, like, when has Game of Thrones ever given you what you wanted?
Exactly. I mean, they gave me
no,
Arya Stark, so I'm not gonna complain. You know,
But
I'm good so
was,
far.
But that was the thing I didn't know I wanted. I wanted it, but
Exactly.
I didn't
They
know
gave
yet.
us what
I
we
didn't
don't
until it
know we
happened.
need. But they
Well,
give
yeah.
it to us
Well, I'm on the
anyway.
more board of like them not just like giving you what you want, but what is
Mhm.
like better narratively. And I'll throw in
Exactly.
like The Last Jedi as an example, as where I was like,
Oh,
for
boy.
me, like that, a lot of what the risks they took in that aren't what the fans wanted, but what I think was a better narrative choice. And obviously that didn't sit well with the fans, but
Yeah, because
that
they
is
don't
kind
want
of
it
like-
to
I love that
seem
you
like a
brought it- yeah,
fanfic.
I love that.
You know?
But I
'Cause
think, I think Game of Thrones is the more type of show to where you're used to that type of stuff, where it's like, this is what would realistically happen and what is better as a storytelling structure, as opposed to just look at all these things the fans want and, you know,
Yeah,
put that.
Totally
yeah.
agree.
And I love that you brought up that point, because a lot of people on Twitter and like group chats I was in and whatever were talking about how the Night King got Snoked, and they were
Big
putting it in this
whoop.
negative connotation where I was like, I loved what they did with Snoke.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that moment in The Last Jedi. I think it's really powerful for Kylo's character. I feel the same way about this way with Arya.
Yeah.
Like I love them not like sure I'd like more backstory with the Night King, and I hope they do something with that, because that's the problem. But I don't have the problem with the
I
character.
think it's just
doing
really
it.
interesting to
It's
do
more
that.
about it's more about how they set up the character more so than it was about the character that got killed, not the one that killed them. But the one that killed them had the more powerful moment for me, so I prefer that.
And the thing
in terms
about
of,
Snoke is that was more like subverting expectations, because obviously we get Kylo Ren, like now he's the big bad and turned apprentice to like, you know, the killer and master. Like that's a very like unique storytelling thing. Whereas with the Night King, it's like Snoke-ish, where they set him up as this big bad guy, but there's nothing related to his death and Arya killing him that kind of sets up an even bigger threat, because now it's just like Cersei, which we already knew. And so that's kind of where I don't come on board with that as much. But I'll say this kind of as my final thoughts on the episode. I love the episode just in its own right. And just like on its own, it's a great episode and everything that happens in it. But in the context of at least what they've given us so far, I don't like, a lot of my problems come from not knowing about the Night King and how they've set up Jon up to this point to, you know, have this big conclusion and all that. So maybe they'll rework that in the last 3 episodes to its advantage, but just the context of the season right now, that it doesn't really sit well with me.
Yeah, and Leon, I'll give you the last thoughts, but I'm 100% on board with what you just said, Caleb. In terms of this episode, I love the episode. In the broader scale, I'm gonna have a lot of problems with it after the fact if they don't do anything else to wrap up the story. So that was me.
Yeah, I feel that. I think the majority of the criticisms and our problems with the season so far is literally the fact that we've only seen 3 episodes. Like, we're only halfway through, and like we mentioned earlier with the whole we appreciate Batman Begins now that we see the payoff in The Dark Knight. I think these first 3 episodes are Batman Begins a little bit, and the next 3 episodes are going to make that worthwhile. And then as a whole, I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna be a little bit more of a positive voice in this moment. I think as a whole, we're gonna really see this season as one of the most iconic out of the series, because a lot of crap will go down, and I think the storytelling is really going to shine, because it's gonna come, and I'm gonna close my thoughts on this. I think everything's just gonna come full circle, and that's the end of Game of Thrones. And that's the end of this show tonight.
Good point.
So where can they find you, Jackson?
I'm on Twitter at JacksonA67, and you can follow the site at Full Circle Cine.
Amen to that. How about you, Caleb? Where can they find you?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all that, at CalebSod20. Find me on YouTube, just my name, Caleb Sod. That's sad with 2 Ds. And follow the Twitter, follow the YouTube, like, share,
Be sure
and
to
subscribe.
subscribe. Yay.
Mhm. Yeah,
You can
and
follow me on Twitter
really
and
do
Instagram.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna
You
say,
can
like,
follow
we
me
really
on
do
Twitter.
appreciate.
Let me plug. All
right, you
follow
got
me
it.
on
Well,
Twitter and
you got it.
Instagram. Captain Melendez. We're good. Okay. So yeah, you were saying,
Oh.
sorry. We appreciate y'all.
We appreciate the listeners. Like, if you guys can comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like, because obviously we're still a growing brand. So, anything that you do want to see more of, what you like, what you don't like, any constructive criticism, we would love. So, just give us that great feedback.
And be sure to listen to our other shows on the Full Circle Network. We have the FC broadcast every week, and when are we gonna get we're gonna get more reviews up, I'm pretty sure. And
oh yeah,
if you guys have
Endgame
any
will be
ideas
up.
of more
Endgame
shows that we
around
can do,
this time.
little
Be up before
series
this one
for
is.
like this one, like a limited series here, we could do something for another show, or for like each season sort of thing of another show that we're all really into. So yeah, I think ideas are open. The suggestions are totally welcome down in the comments below. And I think that's it. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
And winter came.